Mr. Paul William Maulfair was born on February 8, 1930, in North Londonderry Township, Pennsylvania, during the Depression. He went to Hershey High School and an auto body shop school. Every day he had to ride his bicycle or walk to Palmyra. There he had to get the trolley and ride to Hershey, and he had to do the same thing to get home every day. He lived on a farm with his parents and grandparents in a double house. Every day he would work with his grandpa to thatch hay and work with other farmers in the area.
And we made hay and thrashed the grain. We didn't have no combines, we thrashed it. We shocked the grain, made hay heaps to load them on wagons, and I drove tractor for some of the farmers, and I worked for my dad's uncle in the fruit orchard. We sprayed the trees and helped pick the fruit.
Later in his life, he got married to Marion Maulfair, and they had 5 children. Then in April of 1951, he was drafted into the Army.
When he was drafted into the Army, he was sent to Aberdeen, Maryland for basic training. His basic training was like a Boy Scout camp.
We didn't get near the training that an infantryman got. We were drafted, I guess, for ordnance. We only had 6 weeks of basic training. We were on the rifle range about a week, and then we were on bivouac about a week, and we only slept out while we were on the rifle range and on bivouac. Other times we were always in barracks.
Then after basic training, he stayed at Aberdeen, Maryland for special training. There he went to carburation and ignition school for tuning up trucks, jeeps, and whatever they had. During his time at specialized training, he wore no more than fatigues, light green khakis in the summer and dark wool for the winter.
In Maryland, we were in barracks. There was double-deck beds, and there was about 200 in the barracks, 100 on the first floor and 100 on the second floor. It wasn't bad. We had showers and stuff. Anyway, I wasn't in the winter, so I don't know if it was warm or it got a little warm in the summer because we didn't have air conditioning or nothing. And we had to scrub the barracks every Friday night.
His only personal space consisted of the size of a cot bed. He had part of a rack where he had to hang his clothes. His clothes had to be hung in a certain way, and his shoes had to be really shiny.
Oh, each guy had part of a rack where you had to hang your clothes on, and you had to hang them up in a certain way. I don't know how it was no more, but we had to have them all lined up right. And your shoes had to be shined, really shined. Friday nights you were making sure your clothes were pressed and your shoes were shined, and you were shaved.
After individualized training, he was deployed to a location about 2 or 3 hours north of Seoul, Korea.
In Korea, his daily routine was to get up, eat breakfast, and then go to work. He would have an afternoon break and would eat dinner. He would return to work and then come back and eat supper. He had free time unless something drastic would have happened. They ate the same kinds of food he ate at home, including meat and potatoes twice a day, and a lot of times eggs and potatoes. He lived in a big tent with 5 men in a 12-man tent. They had 2 stoves in their tent. They also had their own shower unit, which was a tent with a pipe through the middle and holes in it. Most guys only showered about once a week in the winter, which was too often. The temperature would get down to 30 below over there, and when you got out of the shower, it didn't take you long to dry off and get dressed. Rules on the base were lights out at 9 o'clock, but if anyone broke any of the rules, he got KP, kitchen patrol, and had to go help clean up the mess hall and wash the pots and pans and stuff. The weather conditions over in Korea got below 30 degrees, and they didn't have the type of clothes for those conditions. They had 2 pairs of pants on and long underwear and boots with a thick insoles. They had heavy sea socks as well.
These here we wore on our dress uniforms on the collars of our shirt and the lapels of our jackets. And well, all your medals you were supposed to display too. But I never got to wear after I got home from Korea, I never wore a dress uniform. And this was a patch that we wore on our coats over there.
The weather was not great, but there was also disease to worry about. They had hemorrhagic fever, which was a disease carried by rats.
If you had any food that you got from home, or you bought candy or anything, why, if you didn't have it in a metal container, they took it from you. This disease was spread through the rats, and they would have got after that. And they sprayed our area for I don't know what they used, but they disinfected. And we had to disinfect our clothes every time they were washed. They had a special garbage can with disinfecting in it. You had to go and disinfect your clothes and let them dry again.
Repairing various parts was the main job that Mr. Maulfair had to do on a daily basis in Korea. Usually the bumpers on the trucks were the hardest to fix. To repair them, he would have to take 2 torches and make them hot and try to straighten them out.
And we had some blacksmiths, Korean blacksmiths that worked with us. If they were too bad, we'd take them off and take them up to them, and they'd put them in their forge. A forge is a thing where you heat iron to straighten it and stuff. And they'd put it in there, and then they'd make it red hot, and they'd hammer them straight, and then we'd go back and put them on. We'd play cards and talked. We'd play checkers. Koreans like to play checkers, so we'd play checkers.
Mr. Maulfair was also able to carry an M230 caliber carbine, just in case anything would happen at his base. He also carried a knife just because that was something that the men at the base did. He started out with 15 rounds of ammunition, and then a sergeant said to give the men 60 rounds because at the time they were in a combat zone. Luckily, he never had to use the gun, and there was no fighting in his time in Korea at his base.
One time, one sergeant, he saw an airplane go over top, and he thought it was a MiG, and the siren was hooked up to a battery, and he hit the siren, and boy, everybody headed for the foxholes.
Being in a combat zone rewarded Mr. Maulfair with soap, cigarettes, chewing gum, candy, toothpaste, toothbrushes, and beer. There was a ration for the beer, but Mr. Maulfair wasn't interested in it, so he didn't ever buy any when he was able to. One time a man from his company asked him if he was going to buy any, and he said no, but eventually went and got some and put it under his bunk. After about a month, the men asked him if he still had it, and Mr. Maulfair sold it to him and doubled his money on it.
Some other jobs other than repairing trucks Mr. Maulfair had to do included building a dam and building a bridge for the creek going through his company town. He welded the high beams together for the bridge and was in charge of building the dam. Koreans filled the sandbags for the dam, and the men would swim in it, but a horrible flood came through and washed both the bridge and the dam away for a little while.
To come home, Mr. Maulfair and other men at his base had to have 36 points as a total to get to come home.
We got 4 points a month, and you rotate it with 36 points, and that was 9 months. Not all the people in Korea got that. It was those that were in the combat zone that got 4 points, and I figured I was going to go home in September. No, in August I should have went home, but they dropped our points when they started to work on the truce. Then the fighting dropped down, and they said it's not near as dangerous. Now we give you 2 points. So we had to stay till September.
Finally was able to start his journey to come home. He was on a train from his company town to Busan. It was in a barbed wire fence and was there until a boatload came and they could leave. Mr. Maulfair felt as if he was in jail because there was barbed wire around him and he couldn't get out. Once a boat came from the soldiers, they were on it for 17 days total because the boat hit a typhoon, and Mr. Maulfair was scared that the boat would break into two, but he got home safely and happily to his family.
What was it like to be home after almost 2 years away?
I wasn't away 2 years, I was only away a year.
Oh.
It was nice. Well, my granddad was putting his corn away, so I helped him put corn away. He always cut his corn off and put it on shocks, and then he took it down, and then we had to husk it. And me and Marion, we were out there husking corn. I don't know how many days we husked corn for him. And we were sawing wood. And what else did we do?
He wasn't finished serving because he had 3 months here in the States to serve at the Gap near his home. He still repaired trucks and went back and forth from his house to the base every day. He did stay in touch with a man from his base that was from Reading, Pennsylvania.
Some medals that he got was one from the Korean government and another from the Ordnance School and some from within his company. Doing the work for Mr. Maulfair wasn't that difficult compared to being at home and working on the farm. Once he saw the people in Korea, it made him appreciate what he had in America. He said that most of the people living there were living in huts, and they had a farm on the mountainsides to live.
Overall, Mr. Maulfair had a good experience and would recommend the Army to young men who are considering the option. Being in the Korean War repairing trucks gave Mr. Maulfair a different experience, and he didn't mind doing the work. He says that the worst part of being over there was the cold. He's glad to be home and would not go back in the Army, but he did not have a bad experience.